High Commander Jax Vorrex stretched his forelimbs and yawned, revealing rows of polished teeth that gleamed under the command center's azure lights. Another boring cycle on the Galactic defense platform, inevitable victory. He'd been promised action when promoted to this sector, but the most exciting thing in 6 moon cycles had been a minor dispute with some space truckers over shipping lanes. The communication panel erupted with urgent beeping. Jax swiveled his chair, annoyed at the interruption of his midday contemplation. What now? Another smuggler crying about our inspection protocols, he growled. Lieutenant Pax Dern's voice trembled over the comm, Sir. Urgent distress signal from Outpost Zeta, 9. They're under attack. Jax bolted upright, suddenly alert. Finally, some action. Put it through. Now. The holographic display crackled to life, showing Captain Mira Laxon. Her uniform was torn, and smoke billowed behind her. This is Captain Laxon of Outpost Zeta, 9. We are under attack by an unknown vessel. They've breached our defenses with technology we've never. Look out. The transmission shook violently as an explosion rocked the outpost. Captain. What species? What armaments? Demanded Jax. Laxon coughed through the smoke. They call themselves humans. From a planet called Earth. But sir, it's just one ship. One ship. How can one ship do this? They've taken out our orbital defenses, our ground batteries. They move like nothing I've ever. OHNO, they've breached the main, the transmission cut to static. Jax turned to his intelligence officer. Humans? Never heard of them. What do we know? Commander Ren Talos, always prepared, pulled up a brief file. Bipedal mammals, sir. Only achieved FTL travel 2 decades ago. Considered a minor species from a backwater system. Not even full members of the Galactic Council yet. And they sent one ship? Jax began laughing, a deep rumbling that shook his massive torso. One ship to attack a Zexian Empire outpost? Are they suicidal or just stupid? Admiral Kez Valiron, Jax's superior, joined the conversation via hologram. This is troubling, Commander. Zeta, 9 housed important military research. Jax waved his concerns away. A minor inconvenience, Admiral. I'll dispatch 15 battlecruisers immediately. These humans will learn what happens when you provoke the mightiest military force in the galaxy. Our Nebula-class battlecruisers each carry enough firepower to glass a small moon. Our armor is impenetrable to anything less than a supernova. Our tactical AIs have been perfected over 10,000 years of warfare. Don't underestimate unknown species, Commander, cautioned the Admiral. Jax puffed out his chest ridges in pride. 15 of our most advanced warships against one human vessel? It's almost embarrassing. I'd send fewer, but our battle protocols require overwhelming force. He chuckled again. I expect this situation will be resolved within hours, Admiral. I'll personally send you the human surrender. Or their ashes. The Admiral's expression remained concerned as the transmission ended, but Jax was already barking orders to prepare the fleet. Humans. What a joke. This would be the shortest battle in his illustrious career, #only one ship? Part 2, First Contact. Admiral Talia Blackwood stood on the bridge of the EDS Thunderchild, watching the tactical display with a calm that unnerved her crew. 15 massive alien warships had just dropped out of FTL, surrounding her vessel in a classic encirclement pattern. Well, would you look at that, she remarked, sipping her coffee. They brought friends to our little party. How thoughtful. Lieutenant Marcus Ortega swallowed hard. Admiral, they outnumber us 15 to 1. Correction, Blackwood said, tapping her mug. They outship us 15 to 1. Numbers are a different matter entirely. She turned to her communications officer. Ensign Porter, open a channel. Let's be polite neighbors. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Jax Vorrex's imposing figure. His mandibles clicked in what humans would later learn was the Zexian equivalent of a sneer. Human vessel, this is High Commander Jax Vorrex of the Zexian Empire. You have committed acts of war against our sovereign territory. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance is, he paused dramatically, inadvisable. Blackwood raised an eyebrow. Commander Vorrex, this is Admiral Blackwood of Earth Defense Ship Thunderchild. We responded to distress calls from our science vessel that your outpost shot down without provocation. We attempted peaceful communication 6 times. Your outpost responded with plasma torpedoes. Absurd. The Zexian Empire does not. I've transmitted the communication logs, Blackwood interrupted. Now, I suggest you withdraw your forces before this gets unpleasant. The Thunderchild is a prototype vessel testing experimental defense systems. This is your only warning. Vorrex's laughter boomed through the speakers. You expect me to believe one ship could stand against 15 Nebula-class battlecruisers? Your primitive species' arrogance is amusing. Blackwood shrugged. Have it your way. Tactical, activate Aegis system. Deploy Wasp drones. Execute maneuver Sierra 9. The bridge erupted into activity as Thunderchild suddenly accelerated at impossible speeds, its experimental gravitic drive leaving a visual distortion in its wake. Simultaneously, hundreds of tiny objects burst from concealed ports along the ship's hull. What trickery is this? Vorrex demanded as the human vessel seemed to blur between positions, making targeting nearly impossible. The swarm of Wasp drones, weaponized autonomous surgical platforms, descended upon the Zexian fleet, bypassing shields calibrated for capital ship weapons and delivering pinpoint strikes against propulsion and weapons systems. Sir. 3 cruisers reporting critical system failures. Vorrex's tactical officer shouted. They're targeting our shield emitters with some kind of phased beam it's like they know our exact shield frequencies. Another officer jumped in. 5 more cruisers reporting drone infiltrations. They're inside our hulls. Vorrex slammed his fist down. Impossible. Recalibrate shields. Launch fighter squadrons. Target that human ship with everything we have. But the Thunderchild danced between their targeting solutions, its adaptive hull absorbing or reflecting the few hits that landed. The human vessel suddenly accelerated toward the Zexian flagship, energy building visibly along its forward section. Brace for impact. Vorrex roared. The human weapon discharged, not at the flagship, but in a spreading pattern that caught 7 Zexian vessels simultaneously, overloading their shield systems and leaving them drifting. Sir, came the horrified voice of Vorrex's executive officer. We've lost 9 battlecruisers in less than 5 minutes. For the first time in his career, Commander Jax Vorrex felt genuine fear. #only one ship? Part 3, the counterattack. What do you mean they're still fighting? Jax Vorrex paced the command deck, his claws leaving small gouges in the metallic floor. 9 battlecruisers disabled by 1 human vessel? This is unacceptable. The tactical officer's voice wavered. Sir, the remaining ships have attempted pincer movements, shield harmonization, even sacrificial interception tactics. Nothing works. The human ship. It's like it predicts our every move. On the main screen, the 6 remaining Zexian battlecruisers attempted a new formation, focusing all firepower on a single vector. The Thunderchild simply wasn't there when the beams converged, appearing seconds later behind the Zexian formation. Sir, interrupted communications officer Trex Nalder. We've decrypted some of their internal communications. You need to see this. The screen split to show recovered footage from a human colony world. Zexian ships, bearing outpost Zeta 9 markings, fired upon civilian settlements without provocation. Children screamed as buildings collapsed. A message from the colony leader begged for mercy, only to be met with more bombardment. This can't be right, Jax whispered. We don't attack civilian targets. Why would Outpost Zeta 9? His thoughts were interrupted as a wormhole opened near the battle zone. 3 massive Zexian dreadnoughts emerged, the reinforcements he'd requested. Admiral Ven Korvax, decorated veteran of the Proxima Wars, appeared on screen. Commander Vorrex, your incompetence is showing. Stand aside. These humans will learn what real Zexian firepower means. Jax wanted to warn him, but pride kept him silent. The 3 dreadnoughts moved into attack formation, confident in their overwhelming firepower. The Thunderchild held position, seemingly assessing the new threat. Admiral Blackwood, Korvax broadcast on an open channel. Your primitive vessel may have gotten lucky against lesser ships, but these are Titan-class dreadnoughts. Each carries the firepower to reduce a planet to magma. Surrender now. Admiral Blackwood's calm voice replied, You know, Admiral Korvax, I should thank you. The Thunderchild was designed as a testbed for Earth's next-generation technologies. We've collected excellent performance data today. What nonsense is this? Korvax snarled. Let me explain, Blackwood continued conversationally. Thunderchild incorporates what we call adaptive neural architecture. Every weapon you fire, every tactic you employ, every shield frequency you use, our ship learns from it. Evolves from it. In fact, I'd say your earlier attacks have been quite educational. As if to demonstrate, the human ship suddenly shifted its external configuration. Armor plates realigned, weapon ports reconfigured. You're bluffing, Korvax said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. The Thunderchild's response was immediate and devastating. It fired precision weapons that mirrored the dreadnought's own frequencies but inverted, causing catastrophic resonance cascades throughout the massive ship's systems. Within minutes, all 3 dreadnoughts hung dead in space, their weapons and engines offline. From his command center, Jax watched in horror as 15 years of military doctrine crumbled before his eyes. His communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission from his superiors. The grim face of the Supreme Admiral appeared. Commander Vorrex, explain how you managed to provoke a war with a species that, until today, we considered peaceful. Explain why 18 of our finest warships now drift as derelicts. Explain why I shouldn't have you executed for incompetence. For once, Commander Jax Vorrex had no words, #only one ship? Part 4, 1 is enough. The once mighty Zexian fleet hung in space like broken toys, powerless and silent. The Thunderchild maintained position, its hull bearing only minor scorch marks despite facing the firepower of 18 advanced warships. Status report on the Zexian vessels, Admiral Blackwood requested, her posture relaxed as she surveyed the tactical display. Lieutenant Ortega consulted his screen. All 18 ships disabled but life support remains functional. No excessive casualties, Admiral. Just as you specified. Blackwood nodded. Open a channel to their command platform. Commander Jax Vorrex appeared on screen, his proud posture now slumped in defeat. Behind him, the Zexian High Command had assembled an emergency session, their expressions ranging from outrage to fear. This is Admiral Blackwood. Your fleet has been neutralized with minimal loss of life. We are transmitting coordinates for a neutral location where Earth representatives will meet with your leadership in 3 standard days to discuss reparations for the unprovoked attack on our colony. Supreme Admiral Traz Volkov leaned forward, pushing Jax aside. We accept your terms, Admiral. But I must ask. Why only one ship? If you possess such technology, you could have sent a fleet. Blackwood smiled. That would have been unnecessary escalation, Supreme Admiral. One ship was sufficient to handle the situation while minimizing casualties. We believe in proportional response. You mean to tell me, Volkov said slowly, that this restraint was courtesy? Precisely, Blackwood replied. The Thunderchild is our diplomatic vessel, designed to resolve conflicts while showcasing only a fraction of our capabilities. Had we perceived your actions as an existential threat rather than a misunderstanding, this conversation would be occurring under different circumstances. A new voice joined the conversation as Earth's Ambassador Lin appeared beside Blackwood. The Thunderchild represents the first production run of our Harbinger-class vessels. We currently have 13 in active service and 22 more under construction. We hoped this demonstration would make further deployments unnecessary. The Zexian High Command exchanged alarmed glances. 13 more ships like this? And they considered this restraint? Jax, relegated to the background, watched as decades of Zexian military superiority collapsed in a single day. His career was over, but he suddenly realized something far more important was at stake: the survival of his people. "Supreme Admiral," he said, surprising everyone. "I recommend immediate acceptance of their terms and full cooperation. My arrogance has cost us dearly, but we cannot afford further misunderstandings with this species." 6 days later, as the peace accords were signed, Ambassador Lin mentioned casually that the Thunderchild systems had been operating at 40% capacity during the entire engagement, owing to safety protocols on its experimental systems. The Zexian delegation fell silent, their universal translators struggling to convey the depth of their shock. Within a standard galactic year, a new saying spread throughout known space, repeated in hushed tones wherever military strategy was discussed: when dealing with humans, one ship is enough. And in the darkest corners of Zexian Strategic Command, a single question haunted their nightmares: what would happen if the humans ever sent two?